How far does the harmony of Adam and Eve go, according to this original grace? Well, to understand what Adam and Eve and the Virgin Mary lived since she has the same original grace, we must consider this. It looks a bit like the cascades of champagne that we see in weddings. So a pile of glasses put very, very smartly on top of each other, and at the top, a glass, we pour the champagne in and everything flows in the other glasses, so that we fill hundreds of glasses of champagne, this way. It's a champagne fountain. In the same way, that is how it is for Adam and Eve. The cause of everything is therefore at the top, in the heart of their soul, the presence of God, almost palpable, an intimate presence, in a love of reciprocal friendship that we call charity. It is a theological virtue. It is given to them, as original grace. The first consequence of this is that as it is a friendship, they know the heart of their friend, and so they are given infused graces. That is to say, given from birth, free, in their intelligence and their will. Grace infused with knowledge of who God is, His Trinitarian life, but also His intentions about them. The Bible says, "You can eat all the trees in the garden, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will not eat it, otherwise you will die." This science that touches on charity, it is a question of choosing the love of God and the love of the neighbor, therefore, of their spouse, and not the love of themselves. The exaltation of their pride, which knows or chooses itself, the good and the bad, it is a gift of this infused grace which makes that their intelligence is totally lucid, but attention. In theory, they do not have the experience anyway of death, except by observing the animal world around them that he, perhaps, knows, as he always knew, animals, predators, etc. Second effect of the original grace, their will is tenderly turned towards God, and tenderly and as naturally turned towards their spouse, so Adam towards Eve, so that in a natural way, limpid, when he sees it, including in its physical beauty and well, it can only be attracted by a spiritual love and the sexual desire that is in them, because they have the order to make children, even before the original sin, and naturally ordained to their spiritual love. Third consequence, their psychology, that is to say their animal life, the imagination, the memory, but also the affectivity that carries the feelings, is totally subject to their spirit. It means that Eve is naked, for example, and they are not ashamed, because they would not even come to the idea, those things that come into us and come from our animal life, revolted. This perfect control of their minds on their sensitivity implies that they cannot sin by weakness. It's impossible. While we commit most of our mortal sins by weakness. To deceive his wife one way or another, it kills trust. But it is often related to the weakness of men who do not control themselves, or women who do not control their sensitivity, because adultery exists just as much in women, but often for reasons a little different. Another consequence is the body. The body is in perfect health. That means that the influence of the soul is so powerful that the diseases that exist, the microbes, the bacteria, necessarily, because it is a biological body, so even if only the digestion is done in Adam and Eve as for we, this body is in perfect health. He is perfectly healthy to the point of being immortal. But there, attention! It has to stop. It's something different. He is not immortal by nature. Christ has an immaculate body, and he was killed. He was killed by criminals. He is immortal, not only because of this good health but for other reasons. They cannot hurt themselves because the angels are as present and visible, and as a psalm says, they carried with their hands their feet, lest they strike a stone. And on the other hand, while biology would have done its work in Adam and Eve, and normally, God would have brought them into the other world, transfigured them without having passed through death. So he would have anticipated death, as we see it for the Virgin Mary, whatever it is different for her. It is because the Virgin Mary does not live in an immaculate world. His heart was broken at the cross, which was not possible for Adam and Eve. They did not suffer. The presence of God was totally harmonious. Finally, last consequence, last floor I would say, this fountain of champagne, nature was as fascinated by Adam and Eve. The animals, the predators, in the seers, as for Saint Francis of Assisi, were as attracted, never will they have the idea of attacking them. Probably because a light emanated from them. A physical light that did not hide their thoughts elsewhere. The Bible says that at one point God dressed after Eve and Adam, with clothing, which means that now, it is profoundly true, our skin and our face hide our emotions. For them, this is probably not the case. They did not need it. Well, the animals were not afraid. They were approaching. Nature was a true earthly paradise through the emanation of the presence of God in the soul of Adam and its consequences, even in the world.